Hey guys, it's Jordan. Welcome back to my channel. So, today's video I have been planning to film for a very long time, and I just didn't really know when the time was going to be right. And I figured, now while I'm on the track of just trying to share some real ass content on my channel and just try and find things that I can talk about and where I can connect with you guys and possibly be able to have value to our conversation, and without having to overextend myself or be an entertainer or a clown. And so today I'm going to be talking about my coming out story. The tea is piping hot. It's coffee. Okay. So, I made a post on Instagram a couple days ago. And if you're not following me there, you can follow me. It's Jordan Jonas Sparks, the exact same as it's spelled here. But I made a post about coming out. And to me, coming out no longer has anything to do with sexuality. It doesn't have anything to do with your gender or who you are sexually. It is more and everything. It has everything to do with coming out and embracing exactly who you are, and to keep coming out and to keep embracing who you are, and to make that a residual process where you just keep trekking out further out of that closet that keeps you refined to negative behaviors, that closet that is keeping you refined to your addictions, that closet that is keeping you hiding from expressing exactly who you are, that closet that is keeping you from building connections with genuine, authentic other human beings and souls that you are missing out on creating connections with because you are afraid to be yourself. That to me is what the closet is. And it has nothing to do, well, it has maybe a tiny little bit to do with embracing your sexual identity and orientation, whatever you want to label that as, because that is all part of who you are. But that is definitely not all what it is. I think that everybody needs to come out of the closet and keep coming out of the closet every day. Step on out. Step into the spotlight and be yourself. And honestly, that's what I think. That's how I think about coming out of the closet. But my typical coming out story, like when I decided that it was finally time to tell people that I was not straight, at least, we'll say that, then that is what this story is going to be about. So, to back it up, I have always been the kind of guy that people were like, oh my god, you're so gay, or are you gay? Everybody would ask me all the time. And that started when I was like really young, because I guess I was really effeminate. And in a lot of ways, I like to play with dolls, I like to skip, hang out with the girls, I like to beauty. It's not a big secret, okay? And so, basically, I got all of those questions and accusations since I was like really, really, really young, and that's something that I grew up thinking that I needed to hide. And then growing up in Granbury, Alberta, which is like a little country town in Alberta, which is like a very conservative redneck place to be compared to the rest of Canada, we'll say. And especially at that time, it is getting better, and props to Grand Prairie for making social changes and becoming a better place to live and grow up. But when I was a kid, there was so much pressure and there was so much stigma towards being a homosexual of any kind. And so there was no way that I was ever going to be comfortable with that, especially when people had harassed me and bullied me and physically hit me and, treated me differently and less than my entire life because of it. So I was always extremely afraid of that, and I was hidden in the closet from everybody. I never told anybody, like nobody. I told nobody. When I was in high school, there were some occasions that there was this one guy who I will not name names, but I basically fell madly in love with him in the 10th grade, and we were best friends to start out with, but I was kind of shocked that it was the first straight macho guy that had ever given me any respect or time of day. And then we basically had a little sexual romance, if you want to call it that, and basically cut all ties. And then we had some kind of ongoing weird communication for the next several years into my first year of college. And that was basically how that went. And then I guess thought that I was in love when I was in 12th grade with this other guy. And he was basically the kind of person that when we were together in person, he would be very affectionate and very like romantic almost, but then whenever we were talking like online or around other people, he would zip back into his like I'm a straight macho sub dude kind of thing, all the way to the point of like when we were talking online through like Nexopia, which was like the social media that I used to use back in the day, before Facebook even, and he would be like, you're making this all up, you created this all in your head. And so I never had like very good experiences romantically, and those were all completely secretive. That was entirely in the closet. And then I went off to college in Ontario, and even though I was in Ontario where it seemed to be a lot more comfortable and accepting to embrace who you are, I still did not feel comfortable with that. I knew that I would have to go home to my parents and my family in Alberta, who were not accepting and were not welcoming and were very homophobic. And so I still never felt comfortable with that. And then I came home to Grand Prairie for the summer after my first year of college. And we all went out to the bar because it was my friend Seth's 18th birthday, I believe. And I definitely had, this makes me nervous to talk about it. I had no intention to come out by any means. We were just drinking, and I remember everybody went into the club. It was like called Hammerheads, I think, at the time. And I remember sitting outside crying behind like a shed. I just like broke down in like some drunken, I don't know, emotional mess. And I was just like bawling my face off, and I remember texting my friend Rance, and I was like, oh, I've been hiding this giant secret from you this entire time, I'm bisexual. That's what I said at the time. And then he's like, oh, okay, cool, like, didn't care. And I was like, what? And I literally was expecting him to be like, this ruins everything, I can't be your friend anymore, that's disgusting, and he literally just didn't even care. And so not only was this a guy friend that I was coming out to, but this was like my only guy friend at the time. And then I literally was messaging all of my friends, like while I'm laying outside by this shed crying outside of a bar that I haven't even went into yet at my friend Seth's 18th birthday. But I'm literally just texting people and like messaging people and being like, oh my god, I'm a mess, my life is over, and like I've been lying to you guys for all this time. And then I told them that I liked guys. And that was basically the start of the process. It wasn't like some giant walking out of the closet experience. To this day, with my family, it's not something we ever discuss openly. I have not talked about it with anybody in my family except for, I believe, my oldest brother's girlfriend and my mom. I've kind of had like brief conversations with her about my sexuality while nobody was around. And that does make me really sad that it's not something that I can like embrace with my family. And I feel like growing up in Alberta, that's something that a lot of people have to face, is that their families love them, but they also feel this insane social stigma to have a LGBTQ whatever child that is not the normal straight child. And so I feel like it's something that for anybody that I know back home, it's not embraced, and it is something that's not talked about. And even if they are open about it with their families, they don't like bring home their partner or like have a beautiful wedding like the straight families do. So that is something that's always affected me. And like I couldn't have this conversation with my stepdad, I feel like, ever. It's just like he's too deeply ingrained homophobic to like the core. And like that's obviously something that's in my mind. Like, sure, that could be different, but like in my mind it's something that we could never move past because he's shown me so much throughout my life that it's not okay. And then with my father, who has already passed away, he passed away right after I graduated college. But my dad was very deeply homophobic as well, and that's something that I was really informed about. I was not sheltered from when I was really young, because from like 5 years old, my dad told me that he was molested as a child, and his parents basically abandoned him when he was really young to a shelter for abandoned children, essentially. And one of the male workers, said that they were going to bring him home one day, and that he was going to have special privileges to get to have a sleepover at the worker of the shelter's house, and the shelter guy molested him. And so my dad has always been really, really homophobic, and for reasons that are beyond regular control, because that is something that really, I'm sure, had affected him on a great, profound level. But he shared that with me when I was really, really young, and so I never felt comfortable. And because of him having this experience, me and my dad had no intimate connection. If I hugged my dad, he always felt awkward about it. I couldn't touch him. I couldn't if I touched his hair, he'd be like, don't do that. Don't touch me. That's for guy and girl interactions. And when it came to hugging and stuff, he'd be like, that's for moms, even though I didn't have a mom around because I only lived with my dad. So there's always been deep-seated intimacy issues that way with my dad and my stepdad. And then my brothers have always called me gay, called me a faggot, called me every word in the book, as if that was the worst possible thing that I could be. And even working with my oldest brother during my adulthood, he's called other people faggots and talked to other people in language that made me appalled on the inside, to the point that I'm at the core, I don't know if he could ever accept me as who I am. And my little brothers, I feel they just know, they accept me as who I am. They're still going to be, they're the most accepting of who I am. We just haven't really had this conversation. And they're from a different generation. I feel they've felt so much stigma and so much pressure, being bullied themselves in different ways, that they know what it's like to not fit into the mold of what is normal. And I feel they are the most accepting that way, regardless of the fact that we don't have that great of a bond as brothers. And then with my mom, I have talked to her about it. I've opened up to her about it a little bit. When I first talked to her, I was going on a date. I was meeting this guy, Josh, from the Sheridan College, my first college, and we were talking on Facebook and stuff for probably a year, and then we finally met, and we realized we didn't really vibe. We were better suited as friends, but there was no romantic chemistry or anything like that. And I just kind of told my mom one day, I'm going on a date with this boy named Josh. That's literally how I told her. I wasn't hey mom, I'm gay. There was no big moment. That's just, I told her that I was going on a date with this guy named Josh, and that was basically it. And then, yeah, that's how it is with my family. With all of my friends, I'm really just open about who I am, and I'm not a very openly sexual person a lot of the time. I feel people get that misconstrued if they follow me on social media and stuff, but I don't have sex, really. I don't hook up with people. I am not promiscuous, and I haven't been in a relationship with an actual label since I was 16 years old, so that's not part of who I am. But when it comes to self-expression, I am totally open to express both my masculine and feminine side through my sexuality, especially when it comes to modeling and my art and my photos and my music and my dancing. So I feel that does project an image that I'm a very sexual person, but oh hey, I'm just comfortable with my sexuality without going out and having sex with a lot of people, if that makes sense. Anyway, so that is my coming out story. I would love to get to a place where it is more open and comfortable with my family. I don't want to spend the rest of my life thinking that if I were to ever get married to a man, that I can't embrace that with my family and have my family at a wedding or as a part of our lives or anything like that. So that's something that I'm still working towards, and that struggle is real. But I guess that is pretty much it for this video. I just thought that this might be some kind of good chat that we could have that might hit home for some of you guys and let you know that coming out is not necessarily a one-step thing. It doesn't have to be the same for everybody. It doesn't have to be just because you're gay. You can be straight and be hey, guess what, guys? I like to do hairdressing and I'm not gay. Or I want to be a ballet dancer when you've always been a football player and you're afraid all your friends will judge you. You can embrace that. That's, to me, what coming out is all about as well. But basically, I'm just here to tell you that it's going to be different for everybody. It's a different process for everybody. It doesn't have to be one big announcement that you make to everybody. You can tell people privately, you can tell people publicly, you can hold a party. It's all up to you. It's just a different experience for everybody. But for me, it's definitely been a process, and it is an ongoing process. And like I said, I'm still coming out every day, and I'm still embracing who I am, and I'm still working on having an open network and communication and relationship with the people in my lives, including my sexuality and who I am, not having to exclude that part. So that, I guess, is about it for this video. And as always, I wanted to remind you guys from the bottom of my heart and soul to be weird, be wild, and stay sparkly, and go have some coffee. Just kidding, don't have some coffee. Coffee's bad. Well, it can be good, but it's kind of not the best. Anyways, okay, love you guys. Bye!